Welcome to the Purpose Chasers podcast, where those who refuse to let odds or naysayers stand in their way come to chase and catch their true calling. I'm your host, Mark Crandall. In each episode, we shine a spotlight on artists and musicians who dare to dream bigger. You'll hear the real-world tactical moves these Purpose Chasers have taken to carve out their legacies, and I'll break down the marketing strategies you can swipe and implement today. Let's dive in and start chasing our purpose. Don't forget to leave a follow on Spotify or wherever you stream from. Let's dive into this episode. Purpose Chasers, I am very, very excited to have one of my favorite musicians on, and I fell in love with this man as I went out on my my tour this summer, which you've heard me talk about. I walked away from the construction sale, lost $300,000, and went to every festival that I possibly could. And it was in that process that I fell back in love and was recalled to my passion, which was lifting up artists and highlighting them on the internet, which is like my favorite thing to do. And Scott, welcome. You were a huge part of that. And it was 80K that broke me wide open for you. I fell wide in love with you. Welcome onto the Purpose Chasers, man. I'm just so blessed and thankful for your time.
You got it. Thanks for having me, Mark.
So I want to dive right into this episode by asking kind of this softball question that is this passionate question for me, and that is the artist or musician who first, initially inspired you to become the Purpose Chaser that you are today, which, and I'll share this with you. Mine was Shel Silverstein. I remember seeing The Giving Tree up on the bookshelf when I was a wee lad. I don't remember the exact age. And I remember renting it, bringing it home, and, played such an integral part of my life and my artistic path that I had it tattooed on myself. So Scott, I would love to start this episode off by asking you who your artistic and or musical inspirations were when you were a wee lad.
Well, when I was a wee lad, my first musical inspirations that I could, that carry forth to this day, it was basically old video game music. I would put the game on pause and listen to the music, and I would run over to the piano in our house. I hadn't had any formal piano lessons or anything. My mom was a pianist and a church organist and all that. So we have a piano in the house growing up. I would run over to it, try to pick out the melodies. So it was essentially all these Japanese composers that were the ones that that really lit a spark in me. And then from there, one day I found Phish's music through their studio work, which reminded me of intricate video game music. And I was like, wow. And I saw them live and I'm like, whoa. And then they went on hiatus. So I had to find a couple other things from that. And out of that, the thing that really ended up lighting my spark was the accidental discovery of Umphrey's McGee, which me feels more purposeful now and less accidental. Because when I listened to their music, it reminded me of old video game tunes. I'm like, this is a Mega Man song. This is this could be a Mario song, or this could be, Skate or Die or something like that. And I made their music sound like that, and they actually took it and was like, whoa, this is really cool. We love this. And eventually invited me to sit in with them, which was the real spark that actually ignited something, resembling a music career for me. It all comes back to Nintendo music as a kid, though.
Yeah, and I want to know this question. I'm going off the beaten path of the questions that are outlined. I want to ask this one. So you do this sit-in with Umphrey's McGee, and I'm a huge networker. I'm a how to win friends and influence people. I just truly believe in the core root of actually caring about people and building authentic relationships through giving. You have sat in and collaborated with just the longest list of musicians, and it's stacking. I mean, there'll probably be 20 more, ads after this summer's round of festivals. And from my experience of being a music goer and a fan of music, sit-ins with larger name artists such as you've gotten are not all that easy. So can you talk a little bit from the first sit-in with Umphrey's McGee and your networking path and or your relationship building path to get the amount of collaborations that you have today, which is it's a lot. If you haven't checked out, Scott has a lot of sit-ins on Nugs, like a lot of them.
Well, one more time with the question portion of that.
Yeah, I just want to know what your path was. So you get this first opportunity. So I've learned enough about music to know that it's all about relationships. And if you build the wrong relationships or rub the wrong people the wrong way, you're done. Right. So what is the path? I'm trying to get you to kick some game or some education to a musician out there that's like, man, how do I just like, we're killing it on stage, but like when we go to festivals, like, how do we open that energy up? Like, you, man, you're like everywhere, and I love it.
It really was from stuff like that. So like the thing that I did with Umphrey's and realizing the connection that I made there, I started like hearing that same kind of quality in other bands' music and started, building relationships with them and making 8-bit renditions of their songs, making them sound like old Nintendo music. So as I was doing this, all of a sudden I'm making these friends and like everybody's building at the same time. And now I've got all these sit-ins with these bands that are like big bands, but we're friends. We're like homies at this point. We've known each other for a long time, in on the ground level, kind of I was admiring their work and showing something from that. Like the 8-bit thing I think is a really cool tribute. So as far as like trying to get yourself in a place where you're wanted on stage, just building relationships with other people is really one of the most important parts. Being able to hang, just me and chill, not freaking out, being easy to work with, agreeable, I guess, in certain circumstances, and not going too far out of your zone while you're, and when you're actually on stage with the band, not going too far outside of your zone, and playing along with the band in a way that's not stepping on any toes. You're gonna be complimentary to the situation as opposed to showing off. Like when the band goes go, then you go. Otherwise, you're a part of the process, and it's important to, like, if you have lead in time, learn parts of the song, really make it yours plus but not theirs.
Is there anywhere that I could go in this story of yours that doesn't lead back to video games? Or no, it's just it's awesome.
Honest, I mean, yeah, when it comes that's another thing too. I mean, as far as like being able to sit in with a wide breadth of types of artists, the musical genres that present themselves in video game music are varied. There's so many different types of music represented. I've actually found there's very little reggae represented in video game music, interestingly, but almost everything else is there. So it's really, that was one of the things that I think has helped me a lot, is as far as being versatile, just wanting to learn this music and becoming a more capable musician out of it.
So you did give me clearance to, so I will. I did put my Twiddle pin on before this interview. And I'm going to do a soft lead in because I don't want to get into anything that there is any weird energy, because I just have so much love for the music and the art and all of it unfolding. So this band that I love goes on a hiatus, right? And what are the conversations? And I just want to know, I want to be a fly on the wall as to what it looked like for you to come on with the Mihali Band and to be playing such an intricate role in his live music performance. I mean, I know there's this is going to be controversial. I might put a poll up on the podcast. Who's better, Mihali with a full band or Mihali with just horns? I'm a full band. I love it. Can you talk me through the relationship, the conversations that led up to that? I don't know. I haven't done research before this. I wanted to know this new.
It's been a slow build over the years. Like we've known each other for a little over a decade now. When I first met him, we talked a little bit about like the Umphrey's connection that I had and that, and how that worked out. And I had just done a 8-bit track for Twiddle. I did one of their songs, Brick of Barley. And then as we gone on, I just kind of showed up to some of his solo shows because he was doing those all the time at that point in like Bombazine and just around the Castleton area. And so I would just show up because I was living with my parents at Hudson Falls at the time, and I'd bring my keyboard, and he would be like, "Did you bring a keyboard?" And I'd be like, "I brought a keyboard." He'd be like, "Come on, let's go," and we'd play music all night. So fast forward to like, really hitting it hard with my old band, Mr. F. After that, with Wild Adriatic, I kind of just tour, kept going. After I was with Wild Adriatic, there was a bit of a pause, and then boom, pandemic, big pause. And out of that, I got a call one day from Twiddle's tour manager asking if I wanted to work for the band as a stage tech. There was a position that had just opened up, and I mean, graciously accepted the position, as one would, especially with the like history I've had as a multi-instrumentalist. I'm familiar with setting up the all different types of gear. I've played bass in a million cover bands back in the day. I played guitar at an open mic night every week for like 8 years. So stuff like that led me to be like, this is the perfect. There wasn't a single moment on that job, like even the first day walking in, where I felt like I didn't know why I was there. So that was a really incredible opportunity. But right out of that, it was maybe like the second day of the tour, Mihali's like, I want you to come start playing with me on some solo stuff. And then out of that, there was one night we got like Adrian had a gig cancel on him, and he's like, Mihali, what's up? What are you doing tonight? And he's like, I'm doing a thing out in, I forget where it was, maybe it was New Hampshire. And I was with him that night. And so it was the three of us, and we did like a trio thing. And I kind of helped workshop the trio into like a full band situation with like augmenting tracks and stuff like that. So it was really kind of a slow build into the band that now currently exists. But we really, we went through some iterations to get there, and it's been really awesome. The things we've been able to do as the band since that point where we kind of locked into it.
I think it's epic. I think it's epic, and I just want to say it. I think it's one of the greatest climbs that I've ever witnessed. You're not using namesake that you've worked so hard to build a brand new career. I just want to say it. I want to say it because it's my platform, and I can. Scott did not say this. It's just, I watched that man. I've watched that man and you and the band, and just like it's like grind. Like I have not seen hustle ever displayed out of another human. I mean, last summer, that man, I like swear to God, we were joking one night at, I forget what fest it was. Oh, watch this. Mahali's going to belay out of the trees and drop in. Sure as shit, I just got goosebumps. He ended up there. It was like, and it was just like, he's just one of the hardest workers. And I just want to say this to acknowledge you. The humility that you didn't acknowledge in that stage tech opportunity. I feel like some people wouldn't have taken that opportunity to feel like maybe they should have had a greater one. And I want to acknowledge that you have a lot of humility from my 20 minutes of talking to you thus far and stepping into that is really, it was really, really cool to hear how you stepped into it.
And this was what else was really neat. And so I'd taken the opportunity right away. But like in between that point and the time that I started working for them, which was within like maybe like a month or so, maybe a few weeks, I had a couple other gig fulfillments I had to do. And as I was flying to New York City for a gig out of, I forget where it was, I think in the Midwest somewhere. And I was flying to New York City, and I got off the plane. As I'm getting off the plane, I noticed the guy that got up, that had been sitting next to me the whole flight, gets a guitar from the overhead. I was like, oh, musician? He's like, yeah, I played with like, a band. I don't know if you've heard of us, Herman's Hermits. I was like, what? Herman's like old band, you know? And then it was like, wow. He's like, yeah, I also play with like the Monkees. I was like, you're kidding me. What's going on? So this guy, his name was Vance Brescia. And when I ran into him, we talked all the way to the baggage claim. We didn't say a word to each other on the flight. The entire way to the baggage claim, you know, going off. Got his number and everything. But as we're walking there, he was talking about how he got involved with the Monkees, and he was basically hired on as a roadie. And he was just like there all the time. And then eventually, you know, he would like show some of the songs that he would write and stuff like that. And then his songs would get picked up to be thrown into the Monkees repertoire. And like he had some hit songs, and it just started from something like that. And I always, you know, since that point, I was like, wow, this is really important at like right at the perfect time to have this moment with this guy who kind of did what I'm about to do in a sense, and just like be in the right place at the, not, you know, maybe not the role that you had imagined you would be in, but there on the tour bus.
It's insane. The music industry is unlike any other industry I've ever seen, and I've worked in solar and roofing, and just like, and I'm as a practicing therapist. Music is unlike anything I've ever seen. My friend, produced by Neff, moved to New York, grinded his way up in clubs, started sweeping Static Selecta's studio and just being whatever was needed. I mean, I would talking to him all the time. He was running. It was like an Uber. He was having to go out till 3 a.m, 5 nights a week. To now he's you know, working with DJ Premier and Brady Watts and legends. And it's like, but like almost every story I hear is very similar to the humility of this man that you just mentioned, you and Neff. It's the music industry is fascinating. You can't fake it. You got to show up in front of people, and if you're not who they think you are, you're not going to be, you know, a part of that. That is, it's just Thank you for sharing that. That was
you're very welcome.
So,
I mean, you know, I had a favorite band, you know, like growing up, Green Day, you know, when I was in 6th grade, I got Dookie, and I was like, what is this? I mean, you know, like, so there was, you know, stuff like that too. And that was what made me want to pick up a guitar in the first place. And it wasn't until I got, you know, a little bit older and wanted to start really transcribing video game music where that all popped off. But like, I went home as soon as I got a guitar, and I was like, all right, I'm going to learn all of Dookie. And I mean, they didn't make it that difficult. It's creative, you know, for what it is, but it's not like difficult. So I was able to just soak that all in, like right in one. You know, so as far as the spark, other sparks about getting into music that weren't necessarily just the video games, like stuff like that, badass rock music. There was a lot of punk I listened to actually back in the day, Op Ivy and stuff.
Scott, I want to ask it. It's there for me. So you've just talked about, and you've given me permission. You've just talked about building relationship with Mihali, you know, decade to what it is now. Can you talk me through? You know, you do this. Adrian is now joined. You're a trio. Can you talk me through? I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this, but I would love to hear it. Can you talk through Gub working in and like building a relationship to get to like the powerhouse that you all are on stage?
Well, we had first it was actually, we were workshopping like a trio thing with Adrian and I, and Adrian would trigger certain parts of the songs, like the backing tracks with this sample pad, and I would hold down, like Mihali would loop his guitar, he'd loop the bass, and Adrian would do the drums with the tracks. And then when it would come time for the chorus, where Mihali would switch off of his looping thing, he would then I would take up the bass on my Moog, and we would kind of switch it up in that way. And that was really neat. But then we got to the point where it's like, well, it would free me up to do more of like the traditional reggae organ bubble with the skanks. If I were to do that, we would need a bass player. And so we got a bass player. And the first bass player we had for this wasn't Gub yet, but it was a good friend, Dave DeCristo, who was He was, I believe, the engineer for Plump, if I'm not mistaken, the Twiddle album. So he ended up being our bass player for a while, and he has his own studio actually up in Burlington that's really great. It's where Fish recorded Lawn Boy, which was really interesting. So we have some stuff that we recorded with Mihali there, which will be coming out at some point sometime soon. I think the first single might be coming out from that project. But so we ended up going with Gub at one point. Mihali just really missed his boy on bass, and we got that going.
So did we.
And Dave is awesome though. Dave was great, and he had a really awesome stage presence. He'd get right up on the front monitors and get the crowd in. Gub is again one of the quintessential bass players of the jam scene as we know it right now. So him being able to do it is kind of clutch, I suppose. And then we have the horn players, which are awesome. The Mikes from West End Blend. All good people.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for answering that for me. I truly appreciate it. And Scott, is there a specific stage festival you see yourself, or I don't know if you're a manifester or a believer of wishing. Is there kind of a goal that you have in your mind that, like, obviously, everyone wants to be somewhere great at something. Is there a stage or a place that you could see yourself getting on that would be a win for you?
Well, there's been a few really solid wins so far. A long time ago, I played percussion with an orchestra of all things at Carnegie Hall. So that was interesting.
No big deal.
It was a weird route to Carnegie Hall. My buddy's like, "Hey, you read sheet music, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You can hit stuff, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "We got needs." So I ended up subbing for an orchestra at Carnegie Hall one time. That was crazy. But I've done Great Woods and Bethel Woods, Mohegan Sun Arena, which are all really cool Northeast venues. Obligatorily, I have to say that I would like to see myself on stage at Red Rocks. I actually was on the stage of Red Rocks one time when Mr. F was in Colorado. We visited during the winter and stood on it. It was a nice time. Felt great. Would feel a lot better if there were people there and music and stuff. So that and SPAC in Saratoga, I think, are like the two that I'm just like, man, if only this would be so cool. But I mean, there's been so many other cool things that have happened that I don't even need to worry about those things. It's like it's not like that. The road is long and vast and varied, and you're going to end up a bunch of different places you didn't expect to on the way. Those are some of them.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, doors open, you find out some people aren't who you thought, and the route changes, and it's just it's a really cool path.
Yep, it's a ride, that's for sure.
Scott, who pushes you the most artistically when you're on stage?
Lately, I feel like I push myself more. Like I don't feel like I get that kind of feedback. I feel like everybody's kind of encouraging, generally speaking, in most of the musical situations I've been in. I feel like nobody's been like hard on anybody or like pushing, any pushing that's. But yeah, so I mean, I feel like I push myself pretty hard. I don't let it affect the night. If or like try to, like, I try to push myself as hard as I can before. Like I will sometimes, I guess, over practice, which is a thing, and sometimes during a gig, I can then it just floats away because I spent spent too much time on it. And then, but as far as like getting through a show, getting to the end of the night and being like, I did great or I didn't do great, I try not to put any focus on that and just be happy that it happened. And what can I do to make sure I have another one? Is you're never like, you're one of the things I always used to hear is your net worth is not equal to your last gig. So I always try to really keep that in mind and not let the minutia go. But the last time I was pushed really, really hard there was a 2-week period I had between accepting a gig with the one of Frank Zappa's guitar players and singers, Ike Willis. I had like 25 Zappa songs to learn over the course of like 2 weeks, and then boom, right into like a week and a half tour. So that was probably, and I was pushing myself hard. Like that was, again, it was myself, because I knew I had an expectation to rise to. And, you know, like nobody was being like, I hope you got this stuff down. I just kind of had to, and just did. So there's a lot of self accountability when it comes to music, certainly.
Yeah, it's a different industry, and there's so many different tests. And in that moment, there was a test, and if you would have said, "Oh, I can't learn that," well, you would have missed out on the next step and the next step. You know, your path changes at that point.
I did look at the song list, and there was one song on there, and I was like, if you want me to learn the rest of the 25 songs, we're gonna have to take this one off the list.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that bad?
I mean, it's one of my favorites, but I've never put the time in to learn it, and I knew what it was going to take out of me to do that, and I knew I had a whole lot of other material to work on. So I was like, it's this or all of that.
That's crazy. That
Yeah.
one song could change a set list like that. That's insane.
Yeah, the song in question was Inca Roads. So if you give a listen to that sometime, you'll hear what's going on there. Just a lot of extra work. I already had plenty of other difficult ones to roll with. So,
Scott, this question goes along the lines of like my core calling in doing this work, which is Robin Hood marketing, which is the opportunity to lift up local artists and musicians that may not have that opportunity right now through my work. So there may be a local artist that gets posted in this episode to lift them up. Do you have any bands, musicians, or visual spoken word artists that are on your radar that you want to see this summer?
let's see. I haven't been too active in like trying to find new music. I have really enjoyed catching a couple of different acts that I hadn't seen before. At Northlands this year, I caught Sneezy and was like mesmerized by their stage performance.
I followed. I mean,
Like,
their clips on IG are still. I mean, they look like they melt. I have not caught them live yet.
yeah, those guys were fantastic. The band that I wish I could see more, and I finally got to sit in with them at Northlands, is Squeaky Feet. And they're just, I mean, they're taking improvisations to like, they're stretching things out like no bands really do. And it's all of it sounds like it was not planned, but just like it belonged there, you know, like nothing really feels too awkward. You know, all the stuff that I've listened to on their Nugs, which they have tons of stuff on Nugs right now. The song, it was funny because they're like, hey, can you check this song out, Tunnel Vision, which is the one that I played with them at Northlands. And I did a search for it on Nugs first, and it came up with like a 76-minute version. I was like, I think we're going to have to do a shorter one, guys. But like, that's just how much they improvise. You know?
76-minute version.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. At a certain point, it becomes, this is not that song anymore. But that's just how they get labeled, and that's what the jam, you know, that's how it goes. So that's a 76-minute one song, when it could be as short as, you know, I think 7 minutes or so.
Yeah. I mean, but you got to take it there. It's just, you know, you got to take it there.
Yeah.
Scott, I'm going to respect your time. The closing question that I want to ask is, it's really the inspiration around, you know, asking you to guest. I've seen you a lot live, but it was the multiplayer stuff that really started to really draw me into what you're doing. It just like watching you play. I mean, I've watched clips. Like, I haven't seen it live yet. I can't wait to, but seeing you play the actual video game, then go to your keyboard and then like pull up a sample. It's like one of the most insane things that I've witnessed. Can you talk me through what any individuals who are planning to attend, or maybe planning to attend after hearing this, of what they're going to experience at Fencepost, because this multiplayer thing started as Scott playing video games, and like, will some people come? Oh wow, people did. Oh wow, it's catching on. To now it's a what is it, a 6-piece McNugget you're dropping on Fencepost? Like it's a whole marching band. Can you talk me through the progression of what this has led into and what people at Fencepost can expect?
Well, I definitely, as far as the video game music, like doing it live, it definitely started as just there was a coffee shop that wanted somebody to play, and the guy's like, "You just play whatever. I don't know, play video game music. I don't care." And I was like, "Uh-huh. Okay."
About
like,
that.
So I did. I just sat down and I just figured out, like, I just played as many as I could from memory, and then started looking up other ones and came up with enough of a list. I hacked through it for a couple of shows there, and decided for as far as like doing a longer engagement, like something like that, I can't just do it on piano. I'm not if there's anything I really don't feel comfortable about, is playing piano by myself for 2 hours. So what I have, kind of done since the pandemic is I started building out like a looping environment. So I got my solo version of it now, where I loop the song, play a level from the game on a projector, and then move on to the next song through that. But the evolution of it, like I did have a version of it a long time ago, where basically somebody would play some videos while we would play, and it was a non-integrated kind of thing. There was that, and then there was this. So the way I have it set up now for the multiplayer show is that either a gameplay video that I performed is playing behind us, or somebody's coming up and they're going to play through one of these games as we play the soundtrack. I went through great lengths to learn how to mute the music of these games on the versions that I have. So when I run through them on the emulators in the computer, it's just the sound effects. So they can play through the level with all the sounds coming through, but the band can play the soundtrack, and it's all kind of, the soundtrack.
That's interesting.
The sound effects are like the glue that holds it all really together into like a cohesive thing. And it was something that I was inspired by the band Bit Brigade to do. They do full. They have a live gamer who is dedicated, and he just does a speed run of the game. They do all sorts of games at this point, but they'll do the entire game, and like they wait for him to get to the right spot. He'll wait for them to get to like the end of a song before he goes into the next room, stuff like that. But they had all of those soundtracks muted, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. How the heck can I do that? And I was able to get a Game Genie code to mute Castlevania, which was cool. And so I just did a thing where I played through Castlevania. So that was simple. That was easy. All the other games, I've had to actually go in and brute force hack the soundtracks off and like find hex values within the game's data that's what it turns off. It turns off the song, or it turns off a piece of the song, and then I turn off another piece of the song. The most difficult. I realize I'm getting on a tangent here, but
this is gold, man. I'm a nerd, so I mean, I'm sorry for you listening. If you tuned out, please subscribe, share this out. I mean, I would think that you could just literally get the sounds. Like I didn't think that you had to go through some special ops mission.
If I wanted to just be a video playing in the back, I can, just toss a flash drive to the front of house. But like, I'm trying to actually make this a really like interactive thing that makes sense, and we're kind of like remixing the soundtracks live as the game is going on. So some of it is just I use this to create a gameplay video that plays for the duration of the song. But some of them, like the Sonic game, with Sonic 1 and 2, I've had people come up and play. Mario Kart 64. We've had somebody run Rainbow Road on that one, which is a nice long song, so we could get a good jam in, But a lot of these songs, as far as the video game songs, they lend themselves to like the jazz format of play the head a couple of times. All right, now everybody's going to solo, or like we're going to do a jam or something like that, and then back to the head to bring it all back home and send it. Next song, next game, Whereas like Bit Brigade uses it to play through an entire game from start to finish. I like to jump from game to game, genre to genre, keeping it, nice and danceable along the way.
I mean, that is a mouthful. I thank you for that. I really do appreciate. I appreciate it. I literally was thinking, like, I'm serious. I was thinking in my head, like, you got to be able to just pull down, like, games and soundtrack lists, like, and just have the sounds. But no, you're like hacking games, and like that's crazy. That is crazy.
Another one was really fun. We did Tony Hawk. So I was like, I'm a keyboardist. Like, these songs in the Tony Hawk soundtracks, they're like rock punk, like there's no room for a keyboard in any of this stuff. I have the horn section for the ska band stuff. So like, what am I going to do? Oh yeah, I'm going to play Tony Hawk and fall on my face over and over and over and over again live. It was great. I didn't meet any of my goals.
That's awesome.
I was stricken by how awesome it was to be playing, like, because it was my first time ever getting to do that was when we did it on stage that day. So I was just like, this is so crazy. So I had my own experience there. That was pretty.
Shout out to the coffee shop that asked Scott to play video games.
Well, exactly, like that.
It's led,
yeah.
That's led down a path.
Yeah.
Scott, one more question while I have you before I let you go, and then we're going to wrap this episode. Mm-hmm. One of the things that obviously I love the most about the Mihali Band and the other the Dogs and the other couple groups that I'm really, really close to is the community. It's huge for me. You got to have a great community and it's like a huge experience to go to live music and have friends in a community. Can you share what your greatest memory at in or finishing a live performance, like the greatest fan experience moment you've ever had on stage, where you were just like so captivated or taken back by the energy of the crowd?
From being in the crowd?
No, you were playing.
There's one that it's maybe not specifically what you're going for, but it's one of the things that stands out the most. There was this band, this is a show in Boston at this old place, Wonder Bar. And Mr. F had just finished up a set, and somebody came up to me and was like very emphatic about, how he was trying to emote to me how he felt about the show. Very clearly, there was a communication barrier, and what I quickly realized is he was deaf. And he, like, something about like maybe the rhythms or something, like the way we were, or I don't know what it was, that he was able to like really enjoy it. He showed his appreciation in a way that made me understand how much he appreciated it, and it's something that I still think about. Deaf people experiencing music and how moving that can be. But as far as like other,
that's exactly what I was going for. Scott.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
That was gold. I mean, yeah, you could go further, but yeah, thank you.
There was another one, somewhat more recently that was not even crowd related, that actually leads into one other thing that I'd like to talk about. And it is getting, when I was playing with JWail recently, we had David Murphy from STS9, the original bass player from STS9, as the bass player for that run. And we get off stage, and he looks at me. He's like, we had just met that day, and he's like, "Who are you? Why haven't I heard of you? And why aren't you playing for somebody like huge right now?" So that was a really special moment, and that actually has led to he called me up a couple weeks ago, inquiring about doing a tribute to the classic STS9 catalog that he had a hand in writing, with a couple other musicians, Kevin from Sun Squabby, Rohan, who does this Rohan solo project out in Atlanta, and everybody kind of travels all over doing that. And roving percussion players for right now, but we've got this dude named Phil Ordonez right now. I believe he's Atlanta based as well. So, but we're doing a show on September 11th down in Atlanta to do that. And he's calling it David Murphy For My Peeps. They've got that song, Move My Peeps, with STS9. He's doing this for his peeps.
Yeah.
Um,
That
because
is
I
awesome.
remember when he left STS9, there was like a huge division, and everybody, you either loved the new direction of STS9 or all you wanted was Murph back, and that was what I saw a lot. And he's was really excited to be doing these JWail shows, and it lit that fire under him again to like really want to be out there playing music. So we're happy to be doing that with him. That should be a cool little new thing.
That's awesome. Thank you, Scott. I'm so grateful for your time, for coming on the Purpose Chasers and sharing all that you have. Scott, can you go ahead and share where fans can support your work and learn more about what you have coming up?
Yeah. My website is www.scotthannay.net. It's not as up to date as it should be, but I try to keep shows going on up there that I'm going to be on. So,
any chance of you being at Homie Collective?
I will be at the Homie Collective campout. I will be there with JWail Live Band on August 21st, and I hope to see you all there.
I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate you reaching out to me, Mark. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast.
Take care. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Purpose Chasers podcast. If you're ready to take action, don't wait. Head over to thepurposechasers.com to access notes, resources, and a host of other tools to keep you moving forward. And if you want to supercharge your digital presence, visit scaletosaleconsulting.com to partner up with my team and amplify your impact. Let's turn your purpose into your biggest asset. Until next time, keep chasing, keep creating. Your purpose awaits.